Welcome back, everyone. Today is episode 145 of Word on the Street. And Word on the Street is that Trey is not available today. So I'm here, guest hosting. Hopefully, it will be interesting, captivating, and educational. Or at the very least, something to spend the next hour with some of your favorite friends in the freight business. And there are not many better friends than the one and only Freightcavier. Paul-Bernard Jaroslawski will be here momentarily. There's been a lot of interesting stuff in the news, I think, right now. One of my infants is crying in the background. Hopefully, you don't hear that. We do have the notice of public comment for the FTC's proposed ban on non-competition agreements. Only a couple of days left, about 24 days to be precise. If you want to make a comment, there's almost 6,000 currently. It's very interesting. And we got the initial report from the train derailment from the National Transportation Safety Bureau, talking likely about a wheel bearing overheating. All this and more on today's Word on the Street. And then I think something happens.
Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more Calvin.
Welcome back, everybody. We're excited for today's program. We're bringing in someone you probably have heard. If not heard, you've seen the memes, you've seen the content. Paul-Bernard Jaroslawski is Freightcavier, and we're going to get into the bottom of what Freightcavier is all about. Sounds delicious. So I think let's bring the guy on, unless there's something else we got to be doing. I have no idea. Jam out for a second.
Sure.
Paul, how are you?
Well, there we go.
Absolutely.
I'm doing great today, Matthew. Thanks for having me.
I'm curious. Where did the name Freightcavier come from?
It's a good question. So originally, I was called Shipping Pallets. And the reason why I was called Shipping Pallets was because I opened my own brokerage, and my only customer was an Amish customer who literally he bought used pallets and he rebuilt them to make them, refurbish them and then shipped them. And I was shipping pallets for like half a year back a couple years ago. And then I was listening to the Rap Caviar playlist one day, and I just had this spark in my mind. I had to be called Freightcavier. And interesting enough, when I changed my name to Freightcavier, I got a lot of backlash. Everyone was like, dude, Shipping Pallets is such a great name. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to put a poll out on Instagram to see what people prefer. And out of 1,000 votes, 800 people preferred Shipping Pallets. And I was like, wait, did I make a wrong decision? But I was like, no, my gut feeling was like, this is the right choice.
You got to trust your instincts. I love it. So what was the genesis? Did you just put these two words together and said, okay, I want something with freight, something that is delicious, presumably?
Yeah, so... Well, essentially the Rap Caviar playlist on Spotify, it's like the best rap songs out there. Oh. And it's the latest rap song out there. So I was like, well, if I'm providing freight content, then I'm providing the best. And the caviar has like this nice connotation with it being kind of like luxurious and kind of cool and Eastern European. And I'm in Eastern Europe. So I'm like, this is perfect. So I thought all of those things put together just made a perfect name. And I love it.
So you're in Eastern Europe right now.
I'm in Poland. So like some people say it's not Eastern Europe, but I mean, I'm in Eastern Poland. I'm like an hour from Ukraine, an hour from Belarus. Wow. So
how early or late is it for you right now?
It is 7 p.m. I woke up today at 10:30. So I mean, I went to the gym, had a nice workout. I woke up at 3:30 your time, but I had a good night. I woke up, had a good night rest. So I also went to sleep like at 2 a.m. I work Chicago hours, and I've been working Chicago hours in Europe for over 5 years now. So I'm used to it.
You grew up in the United States, though, didn't you?
I grew up in Chicago. Yeah, I went to U of I. I grew up in Des Plaines, to be exact. I went to U of I. We graduated same alma mater.
That's right. What year did you graduate?
2015.
Man, I graduated 2007. That doesn't make me old, though, right? I'm still pretty hip.
Well, you look really young, so I guess that helps. You don't have the wrinkles going.
That's right.
Young and energetic, so that's good.
The children do that for you. That's at least what I've experienced so far. Now, here's the thing I'm curious about. What are you working on now? I see Shipper CRM. Tell me a little bit more. What is Shipper CRM?
So Shipper, a freight-enabled, or it's a CRM that's strictly for people that are in logistics. Okay. And when you look over on the internet, you have the generic CRMs like HubSpot, Salesforce. You have a lot of CRMs that are for everyone, made in the industry, and a lot of people use those. But like what got us thinking was like, well, what if we made a CRM that was strictly for freight people, and then we also provided a shipper database where people could request contact information. So kind of like a Zoom info, but you get that at a lower price than Zoom info. And so we have both functionalities. You could manage your relationship with the customer, and you could also request information. So it's actually we're beta launching it right now. We have a few customers at the moment, and we're actually doing demos every day. We have 3 demos today after this call.
There you go.
And the interesting aspect of it all was that I have this audience, right, with Freightcavier, and a lot of people go to my profile. Every people subscribing to the email newsletter, and people are really looking at it. So it kind of was like a great coupling of it's putting Freightcavier and Shipper CRM together, because it is essentially like we're doing this together. And
who's your business partner in this? Because you have a Tim, right? What's the story behind that?
Yeah. So, Tim's an investor, and he's also our business partner. And then Christian is the CEO, and he is the co-founder with me. He's a software engineer. He's like the brains behind the whole coding process. And me and Christian met on Twitter back in August. It was kind of funny because on his profile, he was the founder of Autobahn.ai, and he created like these sensors for trucks that, like, let's say you had a Peterbilt that was from 2015, 2016. They never had any sensors or anything that like helped them be more of a safe truck. So he created these sensors. He had the company. He almost raised $2 million. Wow. And then during the pandemic, if you YouTube him, his company name and him, there's actually he was showing investors how he created a self-driving truck and he was behind like the wheel, and like it was a self-driving truck on the Joliet speed race track for NASCAR. So he was testing it over there, but because of the pandemic, he wasn't able to raise more money, and so he unfortunately had to shut it down. But when I reached out to him, he still had that in his bio on Twitter, and I thought, that'd be kind of cool just to see what he's up to. Yeah. He liked one of my tweets. And so I reached out to him, and he told me the story of Autobahn.ai, and I was like, that's really cool. And at that time, I was like, it'd be cool to create some kind of product for essentially like logistics. We weren't sure exactly yet. We thought maybe it would be like a dock scheduler, and then talking with Tim, we realized like a CRM would be great. And so Tim was the first sponsor of Freightcavier, one of the first sponsors of Freightcavier. And so it's kind of like, spiraled into, we're creating a SaaS product now with a media company, essentially. And
there you go. So, okay, what other than these projects we've already talked about, what else are you working on, man?
What else? That's it. I mean, I just do Freightcavier and Shipper CRM. I'm trying to stay laser focused on that. I'm not trying to, I know people's, at least I had this problem. First, when I started out as an entrepreneur, I wanted to do everything, and I thought I could do everything. I was like, I own a restaurant in Poland. I own a brokerage. I actually own 2 brokerages at the same time. I was doing a lot of things at once, and I thought, like, starting off as an entrepreneur, and you learn this throughout the years, they're like, the less you do and the more focused you are, the more impactful you are, the better business goes, and everything just kind of seems to make its way. And so I ended up while I had a freight brokerage, I was running like the Freightcavier page, and I was loving Freightcavier. I was hating the brokerage side of the business. I'm like, this sucks. Like I have to call for customers. I got to cover some loads. I got to invoice. I was doing everything, and I was like, this is absolutely not the dream that I thought it would be when I left the brokerage to start my own. And I'm like, but then when I realized I had an audience built up at Freightcavier, I was like, wow, okay. I have a sponsor. So TextLocate was technically my first sponsor. So
nice.
TextLocate, Ryan
Rogers, he's a good dude.
Right. Yeah. He reached out. He was in my Insta DMs. He reached out. So I'm like, okay, well, and then it was funny. He asked me what my prices are. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what my prices are, but like, I talked to Ryan and I really liked him. And you could tell that he was really experienced, smart, kind of like, has a lot of good connections made. I'm like, hey, Ryan, listen, I'll do the sponsor stuff for free if you could just mentor me, right? Just kind of like provide me some insights, And like, so we started talking. He started like, he's like, Paul, you have a great thing going here. You could monetize this. You could, and even when I talked to Chris Jolly around the same time, he was like telling me like, yeah, Paul, you could monetize this. And, this kind of opened my mind because I was like running Freightcavier purely as a hobby and having fun with it, not thinking I'm going to be making money off of it. And then when I had that, kind of like, idea click, and after talking to people in the industry, I'm like, all right, well, this would be a lot better than running a freight brokerage. So I was like, I told my business partners at the end of 2020, I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna step away from this. Like they had 2 full-time jobs, so I was essentially running most of the things, and I was like, like I'm gonna start doing this. This is going back to the gut feeling and intuition. I was really honing in on that feeling, and I was reading books, and I was like, this is definitely the right move for me. I'm gonna start beginning of 2022. I'm like, Freightcavier, this is my full-time gig. So I ended up.
You're big on LinkedIn. You're big on Instagram. Like, what are your social media? What's your things you're most engaged with in the online social media community?
I definitely started off on Instagram, and that's where I have my largest audience to this date. We almost have 30,000 followers, most likes, most interactions, most kind of like I get the most DMs, all that kind of stuff. It's all on Instagram. And then I started on LinkedIn. I started on LinkedIn like essentially a year after I started the Instagram page. So it was like October of 2021. And then on LinkedIn, the interesting thing about LinkedIn is like a few things just went viral, and it like really caught speed with the followers. And then I really wanted to always have an email newsletter that was kind of like the morning brew, but for freight. And I used to always read the morning brew every day before I was working as a freight broker. And I really enjoyed it. And I liked it because it made me like not have to go look around the internet looking what news sources are. I'm like, it's right in my email box. I get kind of like the snippet. And so like I started working on the newsletter, and we have a fantastic writer of the newsletter, Adriana. She helps me out with it. We kind of plan it together. And then comes out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Central.
Nice.
You can subscribe at freightcavier.com. It's completely free. And I was like, this is cool. Like, I really like this. And like, things just have been kind of clicking and building together where
there are no accidents. These things happen for a reason. Now, you're big in social media, but you're also very big in real life. Now, I want to kind of press the question here. Right? How tall are you?
I'm 6'8". So
6'8".
Yeah, they call me Tall Paul. That's my nickname. You could also call me PBJ because my initials are PBJ. So get some of that too. Yeah. So,
is your whole family very tall?
Yeah, pretty tall. Like my dad's 6'3", I think. My mom's like 5'10". Brother's 6'3". Sisters are like 5'10". So I'm the one that sticks out, like a sore thumb, no matter what. But they're pretty tall.
All right. Well, we have to get to the rest of the people who come on. So the way this program works is a whole bunch of human beings will be popping in momentarily, and they'll have music. So Morgan, if you want to bring in our very first of our folks on the word on the street. Morgan.
I was surprised. Hey, nothing against him, Matt, but I really love Coleman because he's cheaper than a lawyer. But we're still friends.
That's right. I do a lot of my work pro bono. I want people to know their rights, and then I don't charge them because I don't want to be a jerk about it.
Right. Good choice of words. Good choice.
Good to see you, sir. How have you been?
I have been very well. Extremely busy. Great week. How about yourself? How you been?
Surviving. That's what you do when you have twins that are 3 months old. There's not much else you can do.
That's it.
Now, Jeff, have you met Paul before?
No, I haven't. I have now.
What's her name?
Jeff.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff. Nice to meet you, Jeff. I honestly thought it was a costume when I first saw you. I wasn't sure.
It is. It's actually a trademark. The Bodacious Cowboy actually got a trademark.
You did?
Oh,
Good
nice.
for you.
Yeah.
I think all three of us have some sort of name in trademark process, I believe. Armchair Attorney's my trademark that I have as well. It's
And the
fantastic.
logo right here.
I love it. Thank you, Paul. I
Yeah.
love that. That warms my cold lawyer heart.
It warms me up right now because I'm drinking some warm tea. So
You got to do. All right.
There you
We
go.
have more people we have to bring in. Is that right, Morgan? Please. Let's get our next guest, the next panelist on the conversation. Word on the street.
Let's go.
Oh, look at that. I like that one.
Juan, how you doing, man?
Doing great. How about you guys?
doing
I
great.
think we're doing well, right? I mean, Paul's going to be up for the next 3 or 4 hours, it sounds like.
I'll be up for another 6 hours actually.
Paul, how are you doing business from all the way to, from that part of Europe all the way when you're here in the U.S.?
All you need is a-
how's that
all you-
mismatch doing?
All you need is internet. That's all you need. Like, look at I'm talking with you guys right now. All you need is internet, and I'm doing great. Internet speeds are really really quick here, and they're really cheap. So I'm doing amazing.
I think our system is.
What time is it out there, Paul?
7:16 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not that
We
late.
recently kicked off our business in Netherlands, so the whole mismatch of me being up until late, it's doing its effect. In order to
No
be at
longer
8 a.m.
work from
over
home.
there.
It's work from anywhere, right? You can go
Exactly.
anywhere in the world. and do
Exactly.
this kind
I
of
mean,
stuff.
when I travel, because I've been traveling a lot, I just bring my laptop. We send out a newsletter every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, no matter what. That's what we plan for. And I mean, it's great to have that flexibility. You have that freedom of movement. It's something that like my parents could have never experienced. And it's a beautiful thing in my opinion.
My father traveled a lot for work, and I get one phone call with him a day. And it was usually about a minute long that I get to talk to him. And today's technology, you can see your kids, you can talk with them, all this different stuff. It's incredible what technology allows us to do. There's no doubt about that.
Indeed.
Sure.
And we'll be talking about DAT in a bit when it comes to technology, Paul, and you're going to lead us off with that. But before we do that, we got to welcome some more people in. Morgan, please. Oh, Scott Watanabe.
For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all.
Who knows it?
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100%
reason to remember the name.
He doesn't
I
need
feel really weird being the only person doing that. Usually Trey's up there doing it, and then come on. man.
You did good. You did good. I could have made you the
It's a
full
group
screen.
effort.
That was actually
I
really
love
good,
it.
Scott. It's really
Have
good.
you trademarked
Paul.
Great Sensei yet? Have you looked at that?
Glad to find out. I know we connected a couple times on Instagram to get on, but I'm just glad that we can finally meet on some kind of video. So welcome.
Definitely. No, we'll have to message afterwards. I honestly get so many DMs in my Instagram.
Yeah,
that,
for
like,
sure. For sure.
I have someone that runs my Instagram DMs. So
That's good. That's a good problem to have. Oh, Juan.
Juan is gone. Maybe we'll
Oh.
see him back. This is the mystery of the show. It's all live, all improvised.
Yeah, I didn't want to follow Scott's lead on that song because I'd be throwing the wrong fingers out, and I don't want that kind of thing on the show.
I don't know how to
This
present.
is a family show. This is a
Gotta keep
family
it
show.
PG-13.
Yeah.
How many of you guys came into Freight thinking this is what you wanted to do with your lives? Like, did any of you say, I'll do this for a little bit and I'll come do something different? Or is everyone like,
Yeah.
oh, I love Freight?
I like it now that I'm in it. Yeah, I love it. So
I love it.
I'm
Man.
the same way. Yeah.
I love it, man. I've been doing it since the mid '80s.
Oh my goodness. My father was roadway 1976. That was an interesting time to be in
Yes,
transportation.
it was.
We have more folks needing to come in. Raquel, Morgan, can you get Raquel in here? She seems to want to talk right now. Let's get this going.
Oh,
she has been on it with two. There she is. She's muted though. We'll see.
Still muted, Raquel, but we're gonna hit it with a hammer.
Got it. I was just saying,
Usually
like, that's the
that's
best
me.
song out there, right? Like, I mean, Smokey and the Bandit. How can you go any better than that?
I'm doing mostly Daddy Finger and Mommy Finger and Baby Shark. That's what we're really jamming out with that here in the Leffler family household. How you doing?
I'm well. How's everyone doing? It's been a minute since I've been able to jump on here.
That's great. You're coming on next week with all the ladies, right?
I am.
Cool.
I'll actually
It's gonna
be
a good episode.
in Miami
Nice.
presenting that week. So I'll be coming from Florida.
What's in Miami?
I'm actually presenting at the National Flood Expo for FEMA. So to talk about, what a strategic partner and the value of having a transportation partner during a natural disaster.
Sure. That's cool. The FEMA loads are the best paying loads. So
They seem to be, yes. And we're just getting into it here, getting our certified woman-owned business out there. It's a long process. It is worse than I think dealing with lawyers. Sorry, Matt.
Why am I the victim here? Why?
Fair,
I know. I understand. Everyone loves it. They love their own attorneys. They hate everyone else's. And I respect that.
That's true. That's very true.
Well, I think we have another person looking to get in. Morgan, can you give me some insight into who's next?
Let's go, girls.
Oh,
I was
Abby
thinking it was
Haffenbrettel.
going to be Jennifer. Abby comes in clutch with a
I
song.
thought it was Jennifer too.
I did not think it was
Abby, are you in Chicago right now? Are you in Chicago, Abby?
I am in Chicago. Yeah.
That's
Can we see the view? Give us a shot of the view. It looks spectacular out there.
Okay.
Matt's somewhere in the back over there.
I'm about an hour and a half from the
Where are
city.
you?
Wow.
There's my neighbors watching me.
Do you have a telescope?
I have binoculars, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, I will peer into windows sometimes at night. It makes me sound so creepy, but
It's creepier because you said sometimes at night.
Sometimes.
Best time.
Yeah, that's creepy.
So many things to do.
true. That is true. I own it.
How are you doing? You've made the move. You're no longer in Nashville. Now you're in Chicago. How is that?
It's great. It's windy.
They do call it. It's known for that, actually.
Yeah.
And broad shoulders, wind and shoulders.
It has nothing to do with wind.
I learned that recently too.
I learned that as well a few years ago.
Yeah,
But
it has nothing to do with wind.
Does your we're gonna pretend like it does. This is a family show.
still
Does
windy.
the building move when the wind is blowing?
I mean, probably. I definitely like my windows creak
Too high
a
up.
lot. But
Anything off the second story is just terrifying. Okay, I think we have more people. Morgan, what's happening? What are you doing? Great runner.
How's it going, everybody?
How you doing, Greg?
Doing well. Sporting the we were talking about freight integrating into our lives. I've got the Make America Freight again.
Yeah.
From Low Boys Industries.
From Jason.
Yeah, Jason Rabin. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's got good stuff, man.
Can't wait till he's got an American flag, like a subdued American flag hat that I'm going to order once he gets those. It's really cool looking.
It's a cool business he's put together. Him and his son, like that's the dream.
Yeah.
Working with your
Right.
families when it's interesting.
Well, I mean, as a veteran, I think it's so cool what he's just automatically doing and teaching his kids. I can't even like get my kid, maybe because they have a bad taste of dad being gone for the military, but like I can't even get my kids like, oh yeah, let's go. I was like, yeah, kids, but that's awesome. And he just
Kids ruin
got out of the
everything.
hospital, Nick.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
had appendicitis.
Yeah. Hopefully he's doing well. Yeah, I got.
Yeah, he
I got the same
messaged
problem
me
as-
because I messaged him. So
Yeah, I got the same problem as you. I said to my daughter, "Hey, you want to take over my role when I retire, whenever the hell that will be?" "Oh, hell no, Dad! I ain't going to do that. I'm not going to sit in your chair for 12 hours every single day. There's no way."
talking to weird people.
You own a business and you think you're your own boss, but the reality is your customers, your employees, and your vendors own your business, and you're just trying to keep the cash flow moving.
Yep.
Yeah, but the biggest question out there: who signs your paycheck? Do you know?
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yourself?
Huh?
Yourself?
I know.
No.
The customer.
It's not your boss. It's not your boss. It's your clients. Remember that. If you don't take care of your clients, you don't survive. So you always put them first and foremost over your boss. You want to keep them in house as long as you possibly can. That's for sure.
Couldn't agree.
It
more
costs you
better.
too much money to replace one than to keep one on board.
facts.
We do have one last guest coming in for this Word on the Street, episode 145. Mr. Mashek, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. We've already asked how you are, so I don't want to just repeat it, but I'm glad that you are upright, and that's twin, 3 months old, right? Is that it?
It's crazy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done
already
in my entire life. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, my dad is the Energizer Bunny, and he had twins 15 years ago, and I didn't think he was going to make it.
Sleep deprivation is a form of torture. Remember,
well, just wait till they're 15. Those two are like whirling dervishes. They're crazy.
Wait until they're 30.
Please tell me it gets better. That's what the whole thing with those videos are. They encourage you. They don't want you to be all terrified. We have some things to talk about. Let's start off with DAT. What is Dial a Truck up to? Who can give me a feeling of it? What the heck? Paul, go ahead.
I'm just going to say for the record that we're the ones that broke the story on Monday, and then the whole change. Then afterwards, DAT came out with making everyone change their passwords, and then FreightWaves came out with a press release. That was all because of the story that we released on Monday, and that's because there were people in my Telegram chat group selling DAT logins, and I was informed of this on Saturday. I'm like, I'm on the phone on Saturday, and someone sends me because I don't go to our Telegram chat group often. We have like over 2,000 people, almost 3,000 people in there, and I literally. I was shocked by this. And I know about all the scams that are going on because I get people messaging me. I'm like DMing me on Instagram, showing me like, these are the scams. Like, can you report it? Can you share it? And I've been doing that. And so I wrote this, my Monday newsletter, the title of the newsletter was like, change your DAT password immediately. And that was the first anyone has ever wrote about the story, anything like that. And literally that evening, DAT sent out a report to everyone, all their users to change their password immediately. So props to DAT for doing that. And I know they're actually now working on getting MFA, which is multi-factor authentication, because I emailed them about it. And because in the newsletter, I was like, make sure you get multi-factor authentication on your DAT account. And people start messaging me like saying that there is no MFA on DAT.
Really?
Which is insane.
Wow. What?
Oh, that's very, very sad.
I can attest. I did see yours first. But I was like, oh, what is going on? And then when I saw it from DAT, I was like, Paul's got, they have an in somewhere. How did he?
That was our first breaking story, and it made some headlines because typically awesome. we kind of like just summarize stories on the internet, but now this was like our first breaking story. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's
awesome.
That's awesome.
That's terrifying. That's one of the worst things you can have is identity theft or your credentials stolen. What a stressful thing for everybody, especially in the light of this current market these days.
And it happens.
It's amazing. It's amazing how often you don't see people, even when it's available, doing 2FA or some kind of version of MFA. It's just, man, I've built like 300 websites and built like many like platform integrations. And I'll tell you, man, once somebody gets in, it's just so painful. It's so much better to like use like LastPass and 2FA on everything you can possibly use. It's like the easiest thing really in the long run because once they're in, oh man, it's bad.
If you don't have MFA now on any account, get MFA on. I make sure every single whatever login I have is
They're
MFA.
just the bad guys are getting so good at being bad. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
As brokers across, there's a couple of us here. We've seen it even worse in the last 6 to 12 months on the double brokering side, and there's the so much intricate, so many intricacies of how they're doing it. There's shippers there's fake shippers now, fake brokers, fake factoring companies. They're all working together, and we're like, what is going on? It's frustrating.
That's crazy.
What is the solution for double brokering? Because I know, Paul, you've done a lot of research with double brokering operations.
I've been to Armenia, which I don't know if I should be talking about because I get threats sometimes. I literally get threats in my Instagram.
You brought a double broker on.
Actually a double broker reached out to me today. He's like, "Can I be on your podcast?" I'm like, "Are you okay with being like live, like showing your face?" He's like, "Yeah, I am." I'm like,
"Wow,
maybe I'll do it." But yeah, so I went to Armenia, but people don't like people from Armenia don't like me talking about it because they're like, why are you focused on Armenia? There's double brokers in Ukraine and in Russia and other places. And I'm like,
California.
I mean, it's true. There's an agent. There's a large, very well-known agency in the U.S. That's one of the largest trucking companies in the U.S. that I'm not going to say their name right now because they actually deleted my Instagram account 2 years ago, and I had to talk to their lawyers to get it undeleted because I was making fun of them and I was pretending to be part of their company as a joke. But this agency has a lot of operations out in the Balkans and Ukraine and whatnot. And whenever I mention Armenia, all the Armenians are like, "Why aren't you talking about the other countries?" And I'm like, "Well, you have a large proportion of them, the largest proportion of them." So that's why I kind of do that. But I went to Armenia a few years ago, and I got in trouble. That's all I'm going to say. And I got all my footage deleted. We had really good footage, but.
How pervasive is it in the industry for everyone on the call here? Like who's dealt with this kind of a challenge in their own businesses?
Everyone.
It's getting worse.
Every day.
Really?
It's every day. It's nonstop. I heard that 9 out of 10 phone calls. Jason Radin told me 9 out of 10 phone calls he gets are double brokers.
I'd say about 70%.
I have to change my cell phone.
Wow.
That's how much they called.
It's unbelievable. And I start posting them too. I start posting. I call it the freight broker wall of shame. And I'm going to continue to post that kind of stuff because it's like, no. I don't want to move your freight. I want to tender your freight.
Yeah, I saw that one. I was like, what that makes no sense. We did try to skirt around it.
Unbelievable. I'm not going to name the company like Paul. Everybody knows who they are anyway. So it's like, it all comes down to training. I mean, I can say Scott has one of the best training, programs for where he works, which is a 12-week, right, Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, those are the.
I'll agree with you. Yes, we do have the best training
Well, no. I mean,
right here, Armstrong Transport, we're always looking for 8. It doesn't matter.
Saying, you call a spade, and those lacking training are the ones that are. Their approaches are unethical, and it affects the ethical brokers, the ones out there doing the right thing, and that's why we get a bad name from these idiots out there. So it's like,
if someone gets double brokered, are they still delivering the freight undamaged, or is there an issue of people holding it captive and hostage?
Yeah, they hold them ransom.
Well, those are. There's the
of
argument out there
that come up from it where. I've run into, we all have, but there's the ones where it's the guy who he's got 10 trucks and he takes 11 loads expecting one to cancel. None of them cancel. So he gives it to his buddy who delivers it just fine. And he thinks he's doing us a favor, but really he should be given the load back. Right. Yeah. Then there's the other one and these are the ones that are a lot more problematic, where they're maliciously just like, they're taking as much freight as they can. We'll agree to say $1,000. They'll broker it out to some carrier for $2,000 because they don't care because they're never paying them anyways. Yep. And then it comes back where, 30 days later we get invoiced, we pay them the $1,000 that we agreed to, and they disappear without ever paying their carriers. And it's, the extra steps to talk a little bit. Yeah, that's it. But the extra steps
that's if they wait 30 days. Some of these, because big brokers have factoring companies and quick pay, right? So that's one of the red flags that we look at is like, if you're a carrier who's less than 30 days and you're right when you call asking for if we do fuel advances and quick pays, okay, start doing your research. So we've recently, we've extended, we cut it down to 30 days for COVID, but we're pushing it back up to 60, almost 90 days. At least in our office, it's 90 days because we can't afford it. We have too many clients, too big of clients to risk what we're doing with it. And so we're looking at software to add on. There's some out there that are really good, like Highway and Carrier Share, and, My Care Packets, all those different ones that if you can get yourself in with one of those companies, do it, because it's going to save you so much money in hassle and litigation and mitigation and just who we're going to pay just by. It's going to be worth it getting that 1 month, that monthly subscription to those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of these accounts have been hacked on DAT, and they were posting on DAT pretending to be a broker, a different company. Like, so let's just say you get the login info for ABC Brokerage, you log in, you start posting as ABC Brokerage, someone calls in, they book the load with you, and then your email address is at abcbrokerageinc.com instead of abcbrokerage.com, and they defraud legitimate brokerages this way. That's why it was so important to change your DAT password.
Good.
And in some cases, in 2018, there was a lot of freight kidnapping during that 2018, 2019 labor. And the one of the things that we noticed across the board was most common is like these fake certificate of insurance that if you actually gave it a 2-minute look, you would clearly tell that was just paint, copy, paste, put some random text on where their information was, and their email was something like abclogistics@gmail, and that would be it. And load would end up in Chicago, and somebody else is calling you, asking for an extra $10,000 for like.
We're on a rail.
Yeah.
Man.
Or to cross.
So we talked about training being a solution to this, but do you think there's a path for regulatory intervention? The FMCSA.
The bar's too low. The bar's too low when it comes to like passing. Anybody can start a freight brokerage. That's the issue.
And it's
there's no criminal background checks or anything.
It's too small. Like usually they're so spread out. I was actually talking to Jordan Graff, the CEO of Highway, like last week, and he was telling me like that it's so spread out. Like they're opening so many companies, and there's like it's only like each company will take like $10,000. They'll make it or whatnot, and then they'll close it and they'll move on to a different brokerage. And so it's not enough. Like it's not a big deal enough for like agencies to get involved. It's like it's too spread
and the
around.
agency would need to have more resources to investigate, and that would require more funding, and that's always a challenge. All right, well, let's move on from double brokering. Let's talk about trains. Anyone see what's going on with trains lately?
There's too many wrecking unexpectedly.
Derailments
all at once.
It's about 2.5 trains wreck a day in the country. It's a pretty interesting number. We had this one in East Palestine. That was pretty interesting. The National Transportation.
That's not a problem, though. Remember, they said no problem there.
No yeah, I'd drink the water, wouldn't you?
Water? Yeah.
I like my water to sparkle with chemicals that give me extra powers. Call me old-fashioned, but I want to become like the Hulk too. I need those.
Ask the person that said that if they would drink the water.
Funny
That would
thing
be
is,
really interesting on live TV. Would you drink the water? Here's a glass. Go ahead.
Yeah. Would you
In
drink?
front of everybody, please.
It's a hard pass. That's a
I
hard.
give it to the DEP guy and say, "Hey,
If it looks like my daughter's bubble water, no, thanks.
Well, it appears that some of the bigger railroads are now offering paid sick leave. So they had not done that previously. Now they're offering those things today. Actually, it was this week they broke a couple of stories about this. The National Transportation Safety Board released an initial report of the East Palestine disaster. And what it sounds like right now was a wheel bearing got too hot, caused a fire and a derailment. And that's what we have. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's some sensor delay or something, right? They didn't get the notification in time.
So the sensors actually, from what the report says, it actually went exactly as it's supposed to. So after it gets over 200 degrees above the other wheel bearings, then they're supposed to be stopping and checking. So this wheel bearing raised up pretty quickly in about maybe half an hour or so. And then they stopped the train per their instructions from Norfolk Southern. And it was too late by that point.
How does a train that stopped derail?
So that's a good question. So the bearing will end up seizing and becoming really hot, like a truck axle, could do, and then that would cause the actual the tanker to come off the track because it's no longer spinning. That's like my understanding of it right now.
Yeah, it creates friction on one side, and then it pushes, and then the weight just.
it off. Yep.
Was it precision scheduled railroad? That's always exciting, right? Less people, faster and longer trains. Everyone benefits from that.
Yeah, we're reaching the very limits of human ability to deal with, too many stressors, too much stimulation, not enough rest. There's some lessons there, and at the same time, we have multiple companies now doing the 4-day tests where they're finding like 93% of the companies that move to a 4-day work week have as good, if not better, productivity and outcomes. So like we're at this cusp where like some companies are just way overdoing it, and other ones are like, well, maybe we should actually like pay attention to our human resources and treat them as if they are not just an infinite resource.
I couldn't agree more.
For example, on the operational level in logistics, like that's a great question. I'd love to do it. I'm all about providing better work environment, but how do you instead of going 24/7 in order to be able to address all the problems that come up in logistics, how do you go to a 4-day weekend and leave 3 days out there for the lottery to something to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's
you
a
stagger them.
Well, you could, yeah, stagger them.
Yeah, you stagger. Yeah.
So,
So
I
you
used to
just-
have it. Yeah, I had a shop with about 30 mechanics, and we would stagger them. They'd work 410s typically, and so
Yes.
that would allow them to, get their 4 days of work, and then we'd have other people stack on the other days that they're not working. Just everyone's on a rotating schedule.
Yeah.
Freight
Yeah,
doesn't
like-
stop.
Freight's
remember
not
the-
like that.
Yeah.
I know Lee and Pear, you heard of them, A1 Sauce and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
They went to a 3-day work week, some time ago, 3 12-hour days. And like Matt was saying, they have the shifts, so that's the way that they do it. But I don't know if it's still in place, but I know they did it some time ago. And I know I have a few friends there that they said it worked out great. I mean, people were happy about it. They couldn't wait for, like, say if they started on a Monday, Wednesday came, they're like, all right, I've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and they really got re-energized. So
That's true. I can see
Let's
that.
let's change the topic for a second. I've been thinking a lot about non-competition agreements. I actually think about them all the time. How are you guys feeling about the FTC? Everyone's excited about it. Everyone's thinking they're going to be free from these things. What's the story with the word on the street?
I think for small businesses, it can be really tough. That like they just can't lose that kind of opportunity that might be lost, or cannibalize some of their business. But for the big companies, it makes perfect sense because it's just being abused out in Silicon Valley and some of these larger corporations. Just everybody's signing these agreements that isn't necessary.
Go ahead.
I
Mark.
see that the other side is like, I think small companies are going to be able to benefit more from it than larger companies. When larger companies, I'm not going to say names, but let's say the top brokerages start losing their market share for smaller agencies that can offer more percentage to their employers, to their employees. How is that going to look on for them?
The non-compete space is fascinating. It's 1 in 5 working Americans,
lost
30
you.
million people have signed non-competition agreements. 30% of those who sign the non-competition agreement are making under $13 an hour. These things are absolutely preposterous.
Wow.
And if they get banned, the story goes that the FTC will rescind every existing non-competition agreement, ban all future non-competition agreements, and that every employer would have to provide individualized notification to 30 million people. Hey, remember that thing you signed 5 years ago? It doesn't apply anymore. It will be very interesting.
it would be a mass exodus. You can just see them. People that wanted to go to where they wanted to go, they're going there. And it'll just be like flooded. It's going to be catastrophic. I really think that way.
But that's not going to take away the non-solicit. So, I mean, even if it's a non-compete, that you still have the non-solicit there. So
what I always say about the non-solicits, that's a great point, Raquel. The story I think with non-solicits is if you're very good at what you do, if you're good at what you do, your clients will follow you. They'll say, hey, where are you going? What are you doing? And the non-solicit can't stop you. So if you're a performer who's very good, probably you're going to be able to circumvent the non-solicit by having your people follow you. Let's see. I don't know if we can accurately draw a line where we can say whether an agreement should be used versus they're not allowed. I rather just see them go. I agree with that. I mean, some of the changes we'll likely see with the proposed rule will be for people that are executives, being able to apply for them. So currently the rule only permits non-competition agreements in the sale of a business. That's really the only circumstances they allow it. So executives are.
That makes sense.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick, Matt. From a lawyer perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, so the guy leaves and he's got a non-compete, but that company that he was working with said, you know what, I'm not going to work with anybody else because I want to work with John. John Smith did a great job. Can that company go back to them and saying, because you left, I lost that business?
Generally, no. That's what we call tortious interference with a prospective economic advantage. That's a mouthful. But what it means is you've messed up my contract and I want that money back. It doesn't work that way. It probably would be the client would just go find someone else to work with. That individual who was let go or quit, they're out of the business. They're not going to get to do it unless they are in a state that allows non-competition agreements. Or, Steve Cox, when he testified recently, or was on a forum for the FTC, and his company is currently violating 100 non-competition agreements. And no one has sued him yet because he said he will indemnify and defend his employees. And people really don't want to be in the news saying, I sued a former coworker because they went and started.
How's his first? Didn't he have he's got one in litigation right now. Did that finalize yet? Or I know
I do not know, but I have to ping him on that.
Here's the thing. If you can create a culture and create the individualism and just let people do what they need to do and be good at what they do and support the effort, you shouldn't have to worry about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, look at me. I got a hat on with it. But I feel I represent Armstrong well because of the processes and what they allow us do and the culture that we build. So
it's a lazy retention tool. I think you're exactly right, Scott. If you have a good company and you have good value prop to your customers, your suppliers, and your colleagues, people aren't going to go off and make competing businesses. But if you have a bunch of lawyers or a bunch of bad executives running a company, they'll say, well, how do we just sue them if they leave? Can we do that? Oh, we can. Great. Let's do that instead. That's an easy way out.
That's what needs to change is the fact that, if I, as starting as a new account executive coming into a freight brokerage and I have to sign a non-compete before I can start working, that's not fair. You're only paying them $30,000 a year, whatever. Once you're at an executive level, that's different. I feel like there just needs to be clear guidelines.
We even have cases where you don't sign the non-competition agreement until a couple months or even a couple years after you start working.
Mine was day 3.
Yeah. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
I already left my job. That's what you should have to disclose if you're an employer that you're going to have these people sign these things. That'd be pretty useful.
Yeah, go see a lawyer first before you sign any kind of document, non-solicit, non-compete or whatever, and get his insights first. How is this going to affect me in the long run? And you'll have all the answers that you need, and you may not want to sign that document.
I could not agree more. Over the last couple of months, I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of people reach out to me through different social media channels asking that exact question. What should I do? What should I look at? How can I negotiate? Okay, we're getting close on time for a couple other things. Let me just jump into the Tough Mudder Charity Challenge. Who's doing it? When's it happening? There you go, April 29th, 2023. I'm sure there's a link that you can follow to donate to the cause. A lot of incredible people will be participating. I don't know exactly who because I'm new. It's my first day.
No, it's a good cause. It really is. I know that there's a challenge between Trey and Jason. I went with Jason because I'm a huge supporter of veterans out there. So, I went that way. Nothing against Trey. Trey's got a good organization as well, but I think Trey is beating Jason by quite a bit, I think, but I haven't seen the numbers lately.
Do we have anything we can share, Morgan, on the donation total so far? Any idea?
But Flandersville is an awesome association that Jason's representing. Yes. So
awesome.
I agree.
But, we don't have the numbers. I just know he was probably beating them. Trey was. He's got a bigger group, bigger following so far.
Yeah.
I have to do a shout out to greenscreens.ai, and I think there might be a video sponsored. Here we go. Oh, is there? I thought there was a full-on video for that. All right. Well, I'm doing the best I can. Okay, we're going to continue to move on. Everyone's having fun, right? We're improvising here.
Lawyers, they always go to video.
Hey, I've got a pro tip for you all. You were talking about kind of the 2FA and MFA, and a lot of the problems that I've heard of is that people are like, well, we use the same account with multiple people. You can do that. There's a platform called Authy, AUTHY. It's free, and you can have more than one person access the 2FI approval. So if you have an account that you want to do a 2FA on, but you know, like you don't want to have somebody call every time. Like, what does the code say right now? Use Authy, AUTHY.
Is this way to circumvent
That's
having to
good
pay
intel.
multiple user fees? I don't like that.
Well, I mean, in some cases there might be some rules about that. Sometimes it's just, you know, like a Gmail account, you know, that multiple people need to get into. You can use Authy.
I have that problem with just Freightcavier, like the newsletter logins, the Instagram logins, everything. So that's very useful.
Yeah, it's great for teams. So it's just because I know a lot of people are just stuck where like I want to do it, but it's just too burdensome.
Totally.
Security and safety always take precedence. Now we have to jump to the next little segment. Every single episode, there's a special day. So this is a day that we're celebrating something. Paul, do you have any idea what this day might actually? Oh, never mind. It's right there. It's National Tortilla Chip Day.
Who comes up with these things?
I saw that. I was going to get
Why
it.
National Tortilla Chip Day?
Yeah, let me be clear. These are delicious snacks, and if you have the opportunity, you should eat them, enjoy them. They're probably healthy, maybe not. Who am I to say?
Preferred with salsa or your
guacamole
homemade
or queso. I get
a lot of habanero.
queso.
Next year, Trey should just have somebody, do that one chip competition or whatever with those.
Oh yeah, I would like that, man.
What is that? I don't understand. What is that?
You literally buy a
Not
container
do it. I
of a
wanna see
single
Matt
chip
do it.
that has.
I'm probably dumb
ghost
enough to do
pepper.
that on there.
And they're like insane. It's like you took your tongue out and you like just drove a nail through it. It's brutal.
It doesn't sound pleasant at all.
Well,
Yeah, who says that Matt should do it?
it's better than.
I like texture. I'll eat anything. I'm a big fan of any like canned octopus or can of tuna with a bunch of Flamin' Hot Cheetos mixed
you
into
like
it.
sardines too, right?
That's good.
I do.
Sardines
I like
are
the
good.
bones.
Sardines are really good. Same with tuna. Yeah, that's good
not
stuff.
awful.
Put
I
some
enjoy
rice on it.
some
That's
kippered
great.
snacks.
I actually might eat some sardines after this call. I'm getting hungry.
There you go. I like the little bones get caught in your teeth. It's like that's not a
That
big
texture, that crunch
Oh, I love the texture.
on
Canned
a Ritz
octopus,
cracker
that's my
on a.
favorite weirdest thing.
I've never seen
know if
canned
it's-
octopus before. That's
Yeah, you can find it in some places.
Spanish.
I've never had canned. No.
Hold on a second.
I love canned octopus. I've
There's
never
really
seen a can.
high-end canned seafood that comes out of Spain that's amazing.
yeah.
Literally some of the top restaurants in the world now, they bring out the can, but it's like hand selected and it's put in the can raw and then they cook it in the can. So it's like sous vide almost.
Wow.
That's cool.
Caviar comes in a can. Huh?
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
I gotta make some merchandise where I get like the kind of can for caviar. and
that
it's like
can
free
you pop
caviar.
up, but it's like a big one. It's like a T-shirt that pops out. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that actually would be really cool.
I'd be interested. Like, so we have a very strange
looking
market
for
right now.
royalties.
Employment is usually pretty good. We've seen a lot of layoffs in the tech community. Is there any advice anyone would want to give to anyone in the market right now? Like, because this is a cyclical market, right? This has always been this way. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. A lot of people came in the 2020s like, oh, this is going to be profitable and wonderful forever. What advice would you give? Paul, I'll start with Paul. What advice would you give to a young broker who's now facing the gamut of what 2023 is throwing at him?
Work harder than everyone else, and at the end of the day, the only competitor, the real competitor, is yourself. So make sure that you're showing up and just working harder, because at the end of the day, that's what customers value. And if you do that, you'll differentiate yourself, and you don't have to worry about the recession.
I'm with you. Bodacious Cowboy, what advice would you give?
Well, I'll tell you what, to make sure you get into an organization that has a great training part of their culture, you can't throw a newbie in a chair and expect him to produce. It will not happen. It will be detrimental to his career or her career. Help them along the way. Try to help them out to figure out a niche, what their value is, and who they want to go after. Help them every single day. Give them that shoulder to lean on. Without it, they'll be dead in the water. Period. Next.
Riches are in the niches. I am 100% committed to that. Raquel, what would you do? What are you thinking? What would you advise people?
I mean, it's always about customer service. Make sure that you are providing that value to your customers and your drivers as well. They're just as important as the customers.
Sales can sell the first load. Service sells everything else.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Great sensei. What are we talking about? What's the advice you give?
I can piggyback off
Give him an ear.
off of all of them, right? But I piggyback off of all of them. Be the busiest man in the room, salesperson in the room, man or woman. We got a new girl that's just killing it because she's here. She's pay attention to your training, have a good training program, and follow that. Sell your service, sell yourself, sell your service. Anybody can get on a phone and say, oh yeah, we got 60,000 million carriers in our database and we promise visibility and transparent. Like that's the standard. Everybody, you as a broker, that you should have that all the way. You should know that they want the trucks. But my final one is trust the process. There are people in your organization who has been in your shoes. They started out as a new broker. They've been through the process. Okay. They've done the job. Trust that their process is exactly what's going to make them successful, and follow that process. Because right when you think, I saw it somewhere, right when you think that you're losing traction, it's going to happen. Something's going to turn and you're going to land it. But consistency over persistency is what Trey once said. It's just get in there and you do it. Be the trust the process, be the hardest person in the room.
Fail to plan, it means planning to fail. I love it. Warren, what are you talking about, man? What's happening? What advice would you give to folks?
Well, whatever position a person is going to, apply to, just make sure that you're doing it 100%. And if you're seeing a job that you want to try and you're going to go in there, give it 100%, because if you're going to half-ass it, just stay in your, just go sit in your couch for a while and muster the force to actually have the energy and go do it 100%.
No half-ass, whole ass.
Yeah, because building a bad reputation as an employee is not going to take you anywhere in the long term. And not that word spreads around, but people can notice it in your attitude.
Yes.
So if you go in there and the first 3 days you're already doing, but like you're doing half of the job, it's not going to work out long term. You got to go in 100% from when you punch in all the way till you punch out.
Hard to build a reputation, very easy to destroy it. Meshack, what advice would you give? What would you
think? That's a hard one to build on. I've got one as a behavioral marketer. This is one that I found is unbelievably powerful, and also in my personal life, and that is the power of yes and. To always think of yes and I'll give kind of two examples. One, from a sales perspective, a lot of times people talk about the outcomes, or like I think Scott was talking about kind of like all of these different features, or just like the way the sausage is made. If somebody is actually going to buy something, they've got a problem that they want you to solve. So what you do is you talk about the problem, and that's the yes. And then they're listening because they're like, okay, you get where I'm at right now. And then everything you say behind that follows that. And the second example is personal. If anybody ever is upset at you and says, you don't understand me or whatever, a lot of times we want to say, yes, I understand you. No, that's, and what you've just done is you've just talked about your perspective and you've just proven them right. It's better to say, yes, I understand why you don't think that I understand you because of this. I was trying to do this. That yes and is like number one, the biggest thing that I've ever seen in my life to move the needle, change lives.
Spectacular. I mean, empathy, understanding where someone's coming from, meeting them where they're at. That's critical. Now we're getting close on time. Before we wrap up, Paul, I'm curious, if someone wants to try Shipper CRM, how do they do it?
So go to shippercrm.com. There's going to be a joint waitlist button. You click on it, fill out the questions, and then the last slide, you're going to have the opportunity to schedule a demo with us. Right now, I have a demo starting in 2 minutes. So I'm going to run in a second. But it's actually really neat with the Freightcavier stuff. Like we get demos, like people come to the site, they fill it out because of the newsletter, because of the promos that we do. And I don't do anything outbound. It just all comes in. So it's super nice. It's a lifesaver. Yeah.
Well, folks, I think we've covered all of it. Morgan, is there something I'm missing, or are we feeling pretty good? I think we're doing pretty good.
I got something from Morgan. If you're recording the show, Get that clip of Scott coming in and being like all this, and then just cut to all the faces just being quiet. The little cricket sounds.
So thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's whatever.
He's agreed to that. That's fantastic.
You know, I know Jen would have done it in the background. I know Raquel could have done it in the background, you know, but it is what it is, you know. Some of us just know.
Can't blame me.
Just be you. Just be you, Scott.
That's fine. I'm okay. Being an individual, authenticity is key, right?
Absolutely.
The last thing I'll leave everyone else with today is Monday begins the American Trucking Association's Technology and Maintenance Council in Orlando, Florida. If you're a maintenance person or a technologist, this may be an interesting trade show for you to attend. If you've already done it, then great. I'll see you there. If you're not there, that's okay too. I'll probably take pictures. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today for episode 145 of Word on the Street with guest Paul-Bernard Jaroslawski.
Thank you for having me.